Hi, this is Robyn with another IB Bites. Today we're analyzing an infographic called The Woods. This was an IB past paper from May 2024. Today we're going to take a look at writing the introduction as well as the body paragraphs and the conclusion. This is an example of an introduction to an analytical paper. It's not too long, it's not too short. You definitely want to mention the text type in your introduction. Here, this infographic is a composite infographic. There's a reason we're adding an adjective to this text type. It denotes various parts working together. Taking a look at that infographic on the right-hand side, it's made up of a logical flow infographic, followed by a comparison infographic, followed by a map, and two types of processes, the first linear and the second modular. Each of these conveys a different meaning. Together, they connote a collaboration, and this happens to be one of the writers or the infographics topics. So mention that adjective. Don't forget that the text type itself is a persuasive device. All right, next in the introduction, definitely mention the writer. The reason being is that the writer carries a tone. We know that the Africa Digital Media Foundation aims to create jobs in digital technology. This tells us that their tone is going to be encouraging, inspiring, collaborative. There's that theme of collaboration coming up. You also want to mention the subject, that one word that defines the content. You can find it in the heading. If it's a newspaper article, take a look at the title. Here, it's the woods. And the woods is a metaphor or a metonymy for the film industry. The woods renames various film industries, characterizing them as working together towards a common goal. This reinforces that theme we've seen twice, collaboration. We saw it in the composite infographic, and we also saw it in the writer's tone. You want to mention the message. This is difficult for many of my students, finding the message. Basically, it's the comment on the subject. The subject is the film industry. The comment is housed in the arguments. We see that on the right-hand side. There are four main arguments. The top one is the film industry's economic benefit. The second is authentic narratives succeed. The third is the potential for growth within that industry. And the fourth, which is labeled topic 2 here, are the actionable steps. Take the topics and craft them into a single sentence, and voila, you have the argument, the message. Moving forward, looking at the audience, another difficult concept for students to find on papers. We're lucky because this paper states it. They tell us what do we need for East Africa to aim for the world. So we know they're targeting the East African film industries. We also notice from the content there, they specify that as investors, policymakers, and individuals within the film industry. That's a lot to have to mention or repeat throughout your essay. So a good suggestion is to narrow it down to a word or a phrase. Here, industry stakeholders would be fine. Also in the introduction, the purpose. And here we see it's to achieve the success of major players. We also see the purpose is stated in the text type. I want to talk about expressing the purpose. There are 3 parts to it. The first is the tone, that it is encouraging. And the second is the audience. And the third would be to achieve the success. 3 parts to the purpose. Lastly, the last sentence of the introduction is your thesis. It's the answer to the essay question. The thesis is made up, your thesis is made up of the authors, the writers' topics. Here, the infographs topics. And you can see in bold, I've written economic benefit, success stories. We're listing off the topics of our body paragraphs. And for each of our body paragraphs, we require support in the form of textual evidence and images, devices. This is where we put the devices. Focus on features in your thesis, not devices. Here, inspirational tone, engaging visual. Tone and visuals run through the text. That's how we know it's a feature. Don't list off various devices that really don't support your argument. List the features. The writer's topics become your body paragraphs. Here we see 4 body paragraphs. Your thesis should indicate your essay's outline. Here's the complete analysis annotated. We see that there are 8 essentials. The last 2, your thesis is definitely made up of structural devices, which are the writer's arguments in some cases, and stylistic devices, the language devices. All right, before moving forward, please do like, comment, and share this video and get it out to students who you think might benefit from this knowledge. Thank you. All right, let's take a look at writing the body. You want to work from your thesis. The infographic achieves this by emphasizing the economic benefits, the success stories, the potential, the actionable steps. You start with the first body paragraph, you outline it, the second, the third, the fourth. Look at the 4th argument on the infographic. There's a lot there. And if we zoom in, there are 3 subtopics: audience, production, and collaboration. So potentially we have more paragraphs than there appear to be. There's also a call to action that houses a great deal to talk about, to analyze, and so that could go in a paragraph by itself. And you could also talk about tone. There's a lot to discuss about tone, not just in the images, but in the language as well. Am I suggesting you write 8 paragraphs? No. If they're small and succinct, sure. But if that's not your writing style, choose the ideas that you can argue successfully. All right, let's take a look at the internal structure of these paragraphs and how they're made up. We're taking a look at the first section of the infographic on the right-hand side. You can see at the top, it's the economic impact. Look at the topic sentence. This is how it's structured. Your topic sentences should house your topic and its purpose. The closing sentence, you don't need the body of the paragraph to state the closing sentence. The closing sentence works from the topic sentence. Let me show you how that works. You state your topic by emphasizing Hollywood's economic benefit. And then you explain the rationale, why the topic is persuasive. Why did that writer choose to talk about Hollywood's economic benefits? In what way is that going to change the way the audience thinks? Here, it persuades stakeholders that investing in the industry could lead to financial success. That's the reason. That's the evaluation. That's the persuasiveness of talking about economic benefits. This paragraph is it's overly ambitious. I would strive for half the paragraph and half the devices. I think there's about 9 devices mentioned here. It's definitely overambitious. Expressing analysis. There's 4 things you need to do when you want to express one device. And you can do this in a sentence, as I've shown you here. You want to mention the device, which is, here's the color. The evidence is, it's light blue. The evidence is always zooming into the text and pulling out evidence. You want to mention its effect, its feelings of hope. That's that impact on the audience, is its effect. And you want to take a look at its persuasiveness. And its persuasiveness is, how does it link to the topic? Remember, our topic is the economic impact. We see that here. The color light blue evokes feelings of hope, symbolizing the positive prospects associated with the film industry. Economic impact, or the benefits, and here we have the positive prospects. It's a good job. Notice also the division of textual evidence and graphic evidence. The yellow represents language devices. The pink represents graphic devices. Notice how it's organized. There are 4 ways to organize your analysis. The first is discuss an image and show it how that concept is mirrored in the text. The second, discuss a language device and show how it is mirrored in an image. The third, just discuss all the images and then discuss the text. And number 4, you would invert it. Choose the one that best fits the text type. All right, this is the completed annotation of the first body paragraph. The second body paragraph, here's the annotation. Notice the text and image, 50-50. This writer chose to divide the textual evidence from the graphic evidence, because if we take a look at the right-hand side of the infographic, we can see that there is 50-50 text and image. Another student may have organized the analysis in a different order. It depends on your style. One thing we notice about paragraph 2 is that it is actually lacking in evidence. It looks really good, doesn't it? But on closer look, this student, the use of unique icons and symbols further enhances visualization, helping to convey the message succinctly and engagingly. Where's the evidence? The unique icons, the unique symbols, where are these? I'd like to see them, because that would convince me of this student's point if I had real world evidence. So what else is problematic here? It's the persuasiveness, that link to the topic. The topic here is these success stories based on unique icons and symbols, a kind of a nationalism. Its effect enhances visualization, has nothing to do with success stories or convincing the audience. And its persuasiveness, helping to convey messages succinctly and engagingly, has nothing to do with the topic. This is off focus. This is what off focus looks like. What about this one? The use of unique icons and symbols evokes nationalism. Yeah, unique nationalism. Persuading audiences their country can succeed, much like the major players. Okay, this is more focused, but the evidence is still missing. Paragraph 3, take a look at the right-hand side, the infographic. Definitely a lot of images in this infographic, and that's why we see much more graphic analysis than we see textual analysis. In paragraph 4, again, or not again, but conversely, we see a little bit of one graphic. I think there is one graphic and the rest is mostly text. And that's why the analysis has more text than image in the section. Body paragraph 5, lots of text here, lots of text, mostly text in this section. And paragraph 6, there's 50-50. There's 50% text, 50% image. You want to ensure that you have equal treatment of the language devices and the graphic devices. Taking a look at this student's paragraph, zooming in the graphic analysis, there are two devices mentioned. One is the variety, and the other is the structured format. Not a lot here mentioned. And if you take a look at the right-hand side, there's a lot of graphics on that section, a lot. Okay, paragraph 7, the call to action. We've got 50-50. It's a good paragraph, in fact. And let's talk about writing the conclusion. Writing the conclusion, there are two parts. You don't have to do the second part, but you definitely have to do the first part. Here's the effectiveness. The first part of the conclusion is the effectiveness. You want to begin with overall. And we want to mention the purpose first. Just go and paraphrase your purpose. The infographic effectively persuades aspiring film industries to emulate the major players' success. And how they do that. You don't want to list off your thesis and say, through this inspiring tone and these wonderful graphics. Or do you? You do. You don't want to list off devices just because you mentioned them in the body of your paragraph. You definitely want to rephrase, paraphrase your thesis. Remember, our thesis had tone and it also had engaging icons and symbols and graphics. So here we want that salient persuasive feature, the one that we mentioned in our thesis. And we want to state its effectiveness, that it ignites a sense of possibility and enthusiasm. That's how you write the conclusion. You focus on your thesis. The second part of the conclusion, you might want to try. It's called the ineffectiveness. And you start off with that salient persuasive feature, the one you mentioned in your thesis. The text's strong emphasis on emotional appeal. Notice also it begins with however, because we're going to contrast. And then its ineffectiveness. It offers less practical advice. This infographic is heavy on the emotional appeal. And when we see that, the first thing we want to think of is, well, how much logic, how much rationality was put into the argument? And we see that less practical advice. So this leaves some of the target audience feeling uncertain about how to proceed moving forward. Some of the target audience are looking for actual actionable steps on how to proceed. So that would be the ineffectiveness. That some of the target audience are not persuaded. It's not a critique on the infographic, whether they did a good job or not. We know they did a good job because it was effective. But some people within that target audience were not persuaded. And that's the ineffectiveness. And we've stated it here. Thank you for watching. If you're looking for this essay, you can find it on my website here. And there's other resources there as well. Happy analyzing.